Rawr!
When did we all get this dumb?
Almost only counts in horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear warfare. I don't see any bodies, so it doesn't count.
I'm angry about time.
I'm the chef. I want to hear one thing. Yes, chef.
Come on, man. Use your brain.
The Why I'm Angry podcast starts now.
All right, we're here. We're back. Finally have something to say. Actually, it's finally have something to say it with. Just getting my voice back about 80% now, and we'll see how long we can last. I got Lady D here in the studio, trying to keep herself going. She's had a issue with it also, so she looks all bundled up and trying to keep it going here. So just make sure, again, here in the Freestyle Man Cave studio, make sure that you're getting on the whyimangry.com and checking things out. It's been a little slow updating over the last couple weeks here, but we do still have some fresh content on there. Get on there, help us out, give us a little, donation, keep us getting out there to new people. We're actually added X or Twitch or Twitter, I mean, and we added Rumble to our repertoire. We're going out to about 8 or 9 different websites right now, as we speak. So all of that and having the equipment and everything isn't cheap. And if you value what we're saying, just help us out a little bit. So get some merchandise, get out there, give us some reviews. Free way to help us out. Review us and send it out to your friends. Share us. So that's my end of my shameless plug. Let's get to it. Lady D, you surviving?
Hey, I'm maintaining. I've been down real bad. One of them ladies I work with had me down with the flu. I'm still getting over it, but I'm here, so that's all that matters.
Are you sure this isn't the roll tide flu?
No, it's not the road tide flu. Yeah, I was down bad. I was literally for a whole week and a half, couldn't even get out the bed hardly. But um, unfortunately, yes, while I was down bad, someone had to be the bearer of bad news and tell
Well,
me that Nick Saban was retiring. So
yeah. Since
it's okay. It's only one Nick Saban. Long live Nick Saban and his legacy.
the more I keep reading, the more I think we're losing our head coach too. So
What is y'all coach's name?
Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say the last podcast I did, I said we're gonna let the players talk on the field. We're gonna let all the players do the talking. Clearly, your team is state champion. Congratulations. Good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I did enjoy it. The Washington beating was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. Alabama, we did a good job. We took care of business.
Barely,
Alabama
but yes.
was probably the better of the the 4 teams in there, other than Michigan, obviously. Um, it it just seemed like Nick Saban didn't have the people on the field to do what he needed to do that day. That's it.
Honestly, I think all of them kind of already knew what he was about to announce the following week. I had like, cause I just had a for some reason I just had a feeling that's probably why they didn't play as hard.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they played pretty good. For the who he had. I mean, it's just not as good a team as you had the last few years, and you knew that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I've
they
said
were
that too. Yeah,
peaking. They were peaking at the right time. They were actually a better team than when they lost to Texas. But it, I mean, you can't send 2, 3, 4, how many ever quarterbacks to the NFL in a row and be like, oh yeah, we're just going to create another, have a great another quarterback and 17 more running backs, and it just at some point you're going to have a little less quality, and that little less quality is just wasn't as good. So
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I thought overall the games that they played, I thought for between the Michigan and Alabama game, I thought it was a good game. But I will say for Alabama to make it to where they were sitting at playing against y'all the season that they had, although we only lost one game the entire season, I thought that they played horribly last year, absolutely horribly.
it's it can be up and down some. But I did want to get to a couple things here before you have to get off, or before you wither away a little bit here and roll out. But there was a couple articles that I come across. This is one that I didn't. I looked all over for. I heard it like for one time on the news, and it was like early morning yesterday, and then I couldn't even find it on any different website. But in Ohio, in Trumbull County, there was an arrest. A Ohio Supreme Court or Ohio federal judge found today or on Tuesday that the arrest of a county official violated her free speech rights. And like when I started like actually looking into the article, um, it it's kind of a troubling deal because this girl, Nikki Frenchco, which I guess is not a girl, she's a woman. She was the county commissioner, or is the county commissioner, in Trumbull County, Ohio. She was arrested after she criticized the sheriff for, and I haven't gone full throttle into it, but after she criticized the sheriff actually then went and arrested her, um, in a public forum. Um, and then the judge finally ruled that it ruled that it was against her constitutional rights. So she got in a heated argument, disagreement. It's not unusual at board meetings or board of commissioners meetings, I guess, in this county. Um, Really, it's not unreasonable in a lot of counties. If you've ever seen Parliament in England argue, they're like high pitched yelling and things of that nature. Wigs are flying and people
Hmm.
are flying across tables, and it's just it, politics can get you there. But she um, after she took office in 2021, became the only Republican on the 3-member board. So she's kind of the only one with certain thoughts and stuff like that. But the tensions erupted more and more in 2022, ending in Frenchco's arrest after she continued to speak her mind during a public meeting. The biggest thing is that the reason she was arrested was that one of the judges in her county ruled that she had to apologize to the sheriff before, and so she ignored it. She said, "No, I don't have to apologize. I have certain rights to speak in public forums and stuff like that." And they said, "No, you have to apologize, or you'll be arrested." And so they arrested her.
So she had a difference of opinion.
Right,
She vocalized that difference of opinion.
right,
The sheriff didn't like what she had to say, and she was arrested.
right.
And then did a judge dismiss the charges, or
A judge actually, yeah, dismissed and expunged the charges because it was an unlawful arrest. So now the thing is that now she can she filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against them, against the other two commissioners, for upholding the arrest and things of that nature. Um, the other two commissioners, who were Democrats, said that that she saw it as her job to needle them.
Mm.
Like, what does that matter? Like, you're going to just arrest this I mean, you can't arrest political opponents. I mean, this is not
I mean, but you
Argentina or
also you also can't arrest somebody just because they disagree with your viewpoint or they have a different one. If that's
right.
the case, all our politicians should be arrested and every person in the Senate should be arrested.
Me and you should be arrested for some some disagreements.
Literally.
That's how it that's we're that's why amendment 1 is you have the right to free speech. We can't just willy-nilly go out there and arrest people who don't agree with us. And that's part of the problem with kind of the what we've gotten into as a society. And even when you go as far as, it would be nice to be able to say this is hate speech or this is not. But unfortunately, the First Amendment, as long as it's a peaceful protest in a public
Hmm.
forum and it's not a threatening, you're not threatening anybody, hate speech is covered under the First
Yeah.
Amendment. You know, and as much as I don't think that you should participate in hate speech, I also think that the precedent that having a hate speech law sets is not great. It allows you to then who decides what is what and who decides. And this is the argument we get into a lot is then who gets to decide. You know, you would hope that a common sense intelligent person gets to decide. But what happens when it's no longer, when it's somebody that just disagrees with you and they decide that your disagreement is hate speech? I mean, we're seeing that in Canada all along. We're seeing churches that are getting persecuted and actually shut down because of their speech disagrees with the common thoughts of the day.
Hmm.
Whether it's abortion thoughts or whether it's the subject of gay rights or anything like that. When you call out somebody, even if it's a sin, you're no longer protected if there are certain protections for against hate speech or again even if it's not really hate, if you're trying to help someone because of your beliefs, that no longer becomes a an issue. That's not part of the thought process behind what hate speech is.
Well, I think it's even more crazy if the sheriff. I'm curious to know when he wrote up the report, what law that he claimed that she broke.
There was actually a law that they wrote up that was is an old law that I had when I first heard the article that they talked about. Let me see if
Now
it
I want to
says
look
in
at the
this.
ORC. That's quite interesting, though.
So, the lawyer for the two sergeants that arrested him said was is quoted. Um, yeah, the judge actually said in it that the two other commissioners, Sheriff Monroe and the two sheriff deputies, The sergeant that arrested one of the sergeants or two sergeants that arrested her were all personally liable for damages, which will be determined at a later hearing. This ruling both vindicates what I've done in the past and gives her the strength to continue fearlessly doing the people's business for months and years ahead. The lawyer for the two sergeants says she repeatedly interrupted and disrupted the commissioner's meeting. Um, Sergeants Wicks and Ross acted reasonably to enforce Ohio law, which protects the First Amendment by prohibiting a person / any person from disrupting a lawful meeting. So they're quoting that they protected the First Amendment. They arrested her under the First Amendment. Is what
I was
the sergeant's lawyer is quoting.
I'm curious to know if they even would have tried to do because they can't wait to throw disorderly conduct on
Well,
somebody.
and that's what I thought too, is that they would say something like, and I thought I had seen that they had like an old, like law ruling that was, something about disrupting a meeting or something like that. But maybe it was
Hmm.
just the
Creating a disturbance or something.
right, right. But the problem is that she just interrupted. Like she wasn't like running across or, fighting anybody. She just, you know, but then she recorded the whole interaction on her cell phone also. So,
Well, may she get justice.
right,
And if she's suing, may she win her lawsuit.
right, right. Yeah, keep, keep at least give us some beacon of hope of surviving, you know? So,
It's silly.
um, on that, one of the articles I saw also was the federal investigators have asked financial institutions to flag um, terms like MAGA and Trump to identify extremists, which I thought was pretty unsettling. It's like because they were asking like Chase to look at Zelle transactions, and so they're trying to track down some sort. They're trying to put some sort of insurrection together from January 6th. That it was some choreographed, coerced group, that and like I mean the videos and like all of the stuff shown um over the last month or so has shown that it was not a insurrection. I mean it wasn't put together to take over the government. It was more of a disruption, something to, a group of people coming in to protest what was going on. And the one police officer that died, he had a heart attack. It wasn't it wasn't part of the insurrection or the people coming in or the disturbance or anything like that. He had a heart attack. He wasn't shot. They tried to say he was shot, that he was killed in the line of duty. And it's like, well, yeah, your heart stopped in the line of duty. Maybe you shouldn't have been on the job. But the one thing that I thought went a little too far was they also wanted the financial institutions to flag Bible and Christian material purchases.
Okay, hold on. So if I it ain't because Zelle is for like when it's like the Cash App or the Venmo
Right,
of transfer money or PayPal transfer money back and forth to people. So are
right.
they saying they want financial institutions to look into people who maybe like when they send $20 if they saying this is for the MAGA hats? Like
Right.
they trying to investigate those people?
Yeah. Anybody that's buying
Wow.
like They want to see if they're communicating through their purchases about Mega or about Trump. Um, they want to also see if they also want them to flag purchases based on what they're buying. Like so, if they're buying Bibles or Christian materials, then they can actually flag them as extremists, religious text as extremists, so that they can start investigating those people.
But let's say somebody goes and buys me a Bible from Barnes and Nobles, and
Yeah,
I gotta pay them their money, and the only way I can pay them their money is through Zelle or whatever. And I
right,
say for the Bible, or
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Well, the
I'm
the
an
Zell the
extremist.
Zell program is just for if they're looking for, if they're just saying MAGA or Trump. The religious text in that goes way beyond. That goes to the actual, like, they're actually asking financial sector to actually look at what the tickets are for, like what, like
Do you
like your
know?
credit card purchases or your debit card purchases. So,
You know how many random memos or titles that you can put in? Like,
oh
what if
yeah,
you
I'm
just
gonna
send the
start being
emoji
like,
Bible, like the Bible emoji? I mean, like, does that then mean like I'm break? Like, come on now,
right.
that's a
Just put the
little
praying
far,
hands on everything, and they're just gonna start
right?
investigating you.
If I'm sending crosses, what
You're an
they mean?
extremist. You're an extremist. You're on a podcast. You're on a Christian based news opinion podcast. You're an
That's
extremist.
bizarre.
Sorry,
They're wasting
they're
their time with that
investigating you
one.
right now.
They're
You and
wasting their
your
time with that one.
you and your stuffed up nose is being investigated.
I'm gonna send tissues. Does that mean that I'm crying or I'm
Right,
sick?
right.
Like, that's silly. That's very silly.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and this is like, I thought, oh well, this could be just like hearsay or whatever. No, this comes down from Jim Jordan of the Judiciary Committee, the our Republican in the House, that we voted for. He is, yeah, he's in the Judiciary Committee, and you know he's on a select committee, subcommittee on weaponization of federal government. And so what they found in the beginning parts of the investigation is that, yeah, financial services are, um, flagging us as extremists for buying Bibles.
Well, guess what?
Did
Let
you?
me be one then. If I'm saving
I was
somebody's
gonna say,
soul,
at one moment you thought maybe this thing would be all right, and then, yeah, then they come in with something saying, yeah, they're watching you. You're out. You're
you can't
going.
even
You're
buy a
gone.
Bible in peace no more.
Can't buy a Bible.
Yeah, they're
But
wasting their time with that one. Good luck.
I mean, if you're living in this day and time and you don't think that you're in a surveillance state, you're probably lying to yourself. I mean, that's unfortunately, like, I wish I could say, I even named this before we even started, freedom is but a dream. But, if you really think that you're free, well, yeah, I mean, you're free to wake up in the morning, but that's about it. You got to go to your job, or you can't pay your bills, they'll throw you in jail. If you can't, if you don't go to your job, or you don't beyond that, if you can't pay your taxes, go to jail. If you can't, blah blah blah, you go to jail. If you don't stay in the lines, you go to jail. You know, that's it. So, I mean, it's part of what I've kind of said over the last few years is, we don't I own my house. I obviously don't own my house outright without a mortgage. But if you have a mortgage, you don't own your home. You're just
It's
leasing.
true.
Even if you own your home, you don't own your home, you're just leasing the land from the government. Because at any time they can say, oh, I got to throw a highway through here, or Walmart wants to build, and they can eminent domain you, say that it's for the greater good of the people of the area or the people of the United States, and you don't own your home no more. You got a bunch of dollars and cents that the government printed to hand to you.
I'm about to live off grid.
I'm going to go to the neighbor's house and tell them that I need their house for the greater good of the people, and hand them a bunch of pieces of paper that I made myself. And maybe some rocks or something, and say this is worth, pennies of it on the dollar, and see what they have to say to me. Because I'm pretty sure they're kicking me off the property, or worse.
If I pitch a tent in your backyard and give me some solar light and some solar panels,
A little microwave in the tent.
do I still have to pay taxes?
Yeah, you're gonna pay taxes like 3 times. You're gonna
No,
pay taxes on
dang.
whatever you make, whatever you buy, and you're gonna pay taxes when you die.
Everything costs in this country.
And honestly, if you look at the Constitution, this is just, me being a dreamer and all, but if you look at the Constitution, it only says you're allowed to be taxed once. Because that's why we left the country. Yes, some of us left for, or some people left for religious beliefs and freedoms, but a lot of people, the reason that we fought the country that we had left is because they had become a taxation state. They were taxing what we were drinking, how we were, the property that we were living on. They were taxing us for each individual item, of luxuries, sugars, and teas and everything. What's any different now? We get an extra tax for gas. We get an extra tax for cigarettes, extra tax for alcohol, extra tax if you're in New York for sodas. I mean, we basically live under King George.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, I mean, I know that we've been doing this for a while now, and so we just keep our mouths shut and keep on trucking. But, you know, so on that, did you see the Iowa caucus, the first primary of the election cycle?
So I didn't see it, but I did wake up the next morning. They were talking about it. I'm not exactly for certain because I'm very ignorant when it comes to a lot of stuff politics related. What exactly is a caucuses or
It's
caucus?
basically it's a primary. It's a caucus is I think let me get it defined for you. But I thought it was a group of people of like mind or of similar mind coming together to vote for um yeah, a meeting at which local members of political party register their preference among candidates running for office to select a delegate. So,
So basically, like if we got three Republicans, they vote on who the one out of the three should be.
right, right.
Okay.
Same thing with the Democrats. They ran their Democratic primary. Um, they just right now they're just saying they're running Biden. So
So I did see they were talking on one of the news stations about Donnie being still in the lead, I guess,
yeah,
for the vote overall majority or whatnot. But my
right.
question is this: ain't Donnie still getting his court case and stuff together, like with the RICO charge?
Yeah, they haven't completely I think they're still adjudicating that some, or they're getting ready to do that. I don't think they've fully brought him up yet. They did crush Rudy Giuliani on that. We talked about that right before Christmas. That he actually is filing for bankruptcy because they said that they got him for defamation of character on two polling agents, and charged him and basically fined him $140 million, for two people who probably made less than $13-14 an hour. But anyhow, they
So how is he supposed to? If they like, is it still like? Are you still allowed to run if
yeah,
you
nothing.
had?
He
I mean, I
hasn't
know
been.
you presumed innocent until proven guilty, but
That's it. That's
you
it.
know, like, how is it that he can still have these allegations against him and like nobody like says no, we have to wait until that's rectified before we allow you to? Because I think about it, I know it's not the same, but it's similar grounds of like, for example, like when like you use a situation like with Diddy right now, like he's not part owner in any of his liquor businesses anymore because of the allegations that are against him. Now nothing has been proven factual, but
Yeah.
these are still allegations, so they don't
That's
treat that
still
the
that
same
that
way.
that though is his choice to get out of those items so that he doesn't, if for some reason the allegations do come to fruition, that he's not made to lose all of his he probably either sold some shares or let he probably got some gain from letting his shares go of those things now, because if the judge were to rule that he weren't allowed to be part of those because he has a felony or because of whatever, then obviously then he can't have them, so there's no reason to buy them out,
Hmm.
so he would get no gain from that. On this side of things, I mean, you have to presume him innocent, or you could say anybody. You could bring Biden up on charges of whatever, and then he just couldn't run because you brought him up on charges.
I think that's interesting. I will
So
say that.
basically, with Trump, and this is what Colorado's trying to do, is they're trying to say because he started an insurrection, which nobody's been charged with insurrection. He hasn't been charged with insurrection. Anybody that has been convicted of anything, haven't been convicted of insurrection or anything other than trespassing, which is also interesting because it's a public place. But they that's all they've been charged with. So there's not even been a bring, even Congress has said there wasn't, in their findings, in their investigation, that there wasn't an insurrection. But Colorado has brought him up, has said we're not going to put him on the ballot because of the insurrection that he was part of. And the law was actually created because they didn't they they didn't want people from the South who had been part of the Civil War to come up north and take over the country and then separate the country out because they were elected officials now. So if you had been convicted of an insurrection, so if you've been brought up on wartime charges for separating your country, then you were no longer allowed to be on the ballot or be voted for political office, because at that time the South, a lot of the leaders in the South still wanted to figure out a way. They weren't satisfied at the end of the war because their side didn't win. And so they still were trying to figure out ways to get into areas, offices of power, or uh, seats of political power, so that so they could get in and change things.
Hmm.
And so that's why they put this law in effect. Well, Trump hasn't been even brought up on charges of insurrection. So the Supreme Court's going to come in and they're going to take 15 minutes, or should only take 15 minutes to deliberate and say, well, I mean, this law doesn't apply because there hasn't been any convictions. Because in this country, at least legally, you should be still innocent until proven guilty. Or I could just levy any kind of, I could just start any kind of lawsuit against somebody to take them out of the running of being whoever. And it used to be that any kind of lawsuit really would take you out of the running because you'd be vetted by all kinds of media outlets, and that would be it. People have been taken out of the running for president for a lot less, but that's not how it is anymore. I mean, there are people like um, there there are people that were even like just Mormons. Your religious affiliations could take you out of being able to be of people that you wouldn't get voted for. And it's even something that they're talking about Nikki Haley and how she could be elected president, whatever. And that's all well and good, but there are a lot of people here in the U.S. still that say that she wouldn't be elected because people are not ready to vote for a woman president yet. Now, I do think that it's a lot farther along than a lot of the traditional thinkers do. But I mean, even my wife will say she doesn't think people are ready for that yet. So
I'm just ready for a young president, a younger president, somebody that's like in their 40s or 50s, and not some old person.
the problem is these days to get elected president, you have to have a ton of money, or or a celebrity style following. And even with a really good backing and a celebrity following, or a celebrity style following, um, DeSantis is not. He's still not 40. I think he's 42, 45, something like that. Still not getting the backing, not the following. And he's doing a crazy good job in Florida. I mean, he's taken on the different attacks, and then he's trying to keeping his state open and running, and I'm trying to just trying to fight the good fight, keeping taxes low, and you know just trying to keep out of everybody's way, and still just doesn't have the following.
Hmm.
And Trump, because he's got how much ever money, we can argue that, I guess, and they're arguing that in court right now, in New York. But Trump has, whatever following, he's just got a celebrity following. I mean, he was on TV, he's on movies, he's bigger than life. He says what he wants and he does what he says. And honestly, you can't ask for a much better president than someone who does what they say. We don't get too many politicians out there that just, will actually tell you exactly how it is. You may not agree with it, but if you get somebody that actually is honest, who's going to tell you exactly what he's going to do, and then does it or tries to do it, you know. But so on that
Well, may
same
the
note,
best
they
man win.
I don't think that'll happen, but I think it's just the one with the most following and the we're gonna do a podcast here shortly on ballot harvesting and what that actually entails. But so yeah, Donald Trump basically showed up with 48% of the vote, and then Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis they seemed to like tied for second with about 20% each, and then Vivek Ramaswamy, took his 16% and kind of leveraged it and joined the Trump campaign. Which is your super young guy that you wanted to run for president. He's 32 years old. But I just think he just needs a little more polish, a little more age, and he needs to show that he's actually some sort of Republican. So, but on that, they've canceled two of the Republican primary debates in New Hampshire. CNN's debate and ABC's debate both have been canceled because Trump won't show up, and Nikki Haley said she won't show up if Trump doesn't show up.
It's all
So
about ratings.
it is,
Nobody's
and
gonna tune in, so we got to cancel it.
honestly, the last couple of them have been pretty terrible. And if you don't have Ramaswamy, and you're not going to have Nikki Haley, who's going to fight? Who's going to argue with DeSantis? I don't. Is Pence still running? I don't think he. I think he's out. So you've got that the one old guy on the one side that was on the one side, and you've got some two or three other guys that can't even get a spot at the table because they can't even get 1%. Oh, and you got Chris Christie, who I think got maybe 1% of the vote. So, who literally is just vying for a place on TV. So, it'll be interesting to see how the primaries go through, and they're already talking about who he's going to pick for his running mate. If it's going to be Nikki Haley, or he's going to pick maybe Ramaswamy, or who he picks. Because I
He
don't
gonna
think
pick
he's going
his
to pick.
son.
He could. He could pick
The
anybody.
father son duo.
That's right. I don't know if his son's old enough yet though. Trump Jr. I don't know if he's 32 yet.
He gotta be 32.
Let's look.
And that man gotta be almost 40.
He could be. I mean, that's not that much older than 32 there.
Hey, don't do me. I'll be 32 in 30 days.
Yeah, I'm already over 40. So, okay, he's 46.
Yeah, I was about to say the man look old.
Trump Jr.?
Yeah, he not aging well. It's only so much tanning you can do. It's not good
All
for your
right.
skin.
So, the other big thing I wanted to get your opinion on was and I think I hit on it a little bit there, but it's become more relevant and more like they're actually trying to actionably, um, I guess, get this done. But there's a company called California Forever, and they have a plan to create a city.
I'm trying to see.
Over the last 5 years, they've bought 60,000 acres of land in Solano County, roughly $80 million, $800 million, which I did the math is about $13,000 per acre, which actually isn't too hateful. They did okay on their deal. I mean, it's high, but even in Ohio, when you're looking at farmland over developing land, farmland is now getting higher and higher to kind of keep it farmland, as opposed to I mean, sometimes they're selling developmental land for 40, 50,000 an acre, up to 100,000 an acre in certain spots. Um, to get in the right school district, to get in the right, even township anymore around our area, even. And I'm sure in places like LA and stuff, a quarter of an acre of land goes for $500,000. So at an average of about 13,000, a little over 13,000 an acre, that doesn't seem too bad. But they plan to convert 18,600 acres into a city between Travis Air Force Base, which is the largest of the employers in the area, and the small city of Rio Vista. So, California Forever promises over $400 million to help county residents buy an initial 20,000 homes in the new city. And they also want to create 15,000 jobs that pay above average wages.
Where's this at? What state?
It's just outside of San Francisco.
So are they doing this because California is overpopulated?
I think they're doing this to create a new fancy like city with all of the new technologies. It's supposed to be a pretty high end. From what I was reading before, it's supposed to have like the full fiber optics, and just basically it's supposed to be set up with like a 10 gig network and stuff like that, so
I
that.
mean, not a bad idea, but at the same time, I feel like it's gonna be one of them things that everybody gonna want to migrate to.
Right, it's going to be like Silicon Valley.
Like, oh, we
Basically,
gotta go over there. We gotta find a way to move in. They
right,
got fiber
it's going
optics.
to be the posh
Like,
place to go. They're going to create a new city. I mean, honestly, it's not a bad idea if you get the infrastructure, but you're killing off 60,000 acres of farmland, of underdeveloped property, but at the same time it's farmland, and
mm-hmm.
you know they do say that a decades old county protections prevents farmland from being turned into urban spaces. To bypass this protection, the organizers will have to get at least 13,000 signatures for the issue to appear on the ballot in November, so that they can vote for approval. At least they have a voting setup for approval, instead of like just one county guy says nope, or one county guy says, "Okay, that's cool. Just grease my pockets a little bit, and I'll say yes."
If they make it look like the Jetsons, I would move.
Giant buildings like way above, and you're flying around. You got jet
Mm-hmm.
cars.
Yep.
All right.
Count me in.
I mean, I feel like they're kind of buying this off, because they are spending 400 million dollars to put 20,000 homes in the new city. To help county residents buy initial 20,000 homes. They only need 13,000 signatures, so those 20,000 homes aren't buying off people. That's not a that's not a payment. Is that not
But what I think about too though is California has one of the worst homelessness problems in America. Why are we
right?
not using those resources to help combat that? Like if we can
And
build
San
new
Francisco
cities.
is high on that list.
Yeah.
San Francisco has a
Like
huge homelessness population.
why are we not helping people try to and develop and try to, give them homes? Like people sleep on the street right now as we speak. So I don't get that. It seems like to be a waste, honestly. If you're gonna do it, why not make it be resourceful for people?
Because, for one, these are mainly, and this is going to sound bad, these are mainly Democrats that want the government to do the good work. They're not going to take out of their own pocket and help thousands of people. They're so much happier with handing the government a check, and the government comes in and helps those people.
Hmm.
Even though the government is terrible at helping people. The only thing the government was really built for was to protect the people and to make sure that people have some sort of a fair shake. And governments are even terrible at that. But you have to have some sort of social order. So that's why we have a government. Beyond that, governments are terrible. Like they just, we talked about it. Tax you to death because they think they need more power and they want, they don't care about you.
Yes.
Even when they say they do. They're
That's
going
what,
to
but they need to
they're
be using that money to help people, them homeless people. It's ridiculous how bad it is down over there. I'm
yeah.
sure they could be finding other resources for them
Well,
funds.
and you will always, I mean even the Bible says you'll always have your poor and your homeless. Some people just that is how they want, that is how they are going to live. Whether they want to or not, mental issues, things that, things that they've gone through, issues, things of that nature. They're just going to go they're just going to live that way. And so you you know, we're just there are going to be those times. There are going to be those people, I guess, in any city, whether you like it or not. But we could help a lot of people. I mean, there are a lot of people who do not get help that need help or could be helped.
It's true.
So,
It's very
I
true.
mean, you can't end homelessness just like you can't end, in poverty. There's just not a way, those people will always be there. So, oh man. So Denmark's got a new king. I'm just gonna go through a couple things quickly. Their old queen abdicated the throne. She's with 83 years old. After 52 years, she's the longest running monarch until she left. This the Denmark is the oldest monarch in the world. 1,000-year-old monarchy.
Hmm.
The president, though, or the king, is primarily a ceremonial role. Fun. Um, Amazon is partnering with the Wonder Project to produce faith-based content on Prime Video.
Okay.
It's
We
just
already have a
interesting to me.
channel that does that. It's called Up.
Well, but I mean, we have TBN, we have CBN, we have, all of those. It's just it's an interesting partnership because you wouldn't think of Amazon as like a faith-based, you know, thing. But I think this deal with, the chosen and things of that nature, that you can see, like, as a Christian, as bad as this sounds, there is a large population of Christians. And not too many people are catering to the Christian population. Yes, there's Christian music, but there is, yes, we have the Up Network, we have, basically Hallmark, and well, that's less
Hallmark
and
is a
less.
Christian one.
No, not anymore, especially
Oh.
But we have the Heartland Network and the whatever network and the CBN and TBN and all those good things, and whatever other networks we have. But there hasn't been like a completely like just out there streamlined. It's not there isn't a network like USA Network or TBN or TBS. I mean, or you know, one of the like a syndicated network
Mhm.
that honestly puts out good Christian content. I mean, I'll be the first to admit a lot of Christian content is just terribly fluffy stuff that you watch because you don't want to watch, someone be murdered on TV or something. And so, there have been over the last, I would say probably 3 or 5 years, some new content coming out, with the Chosen um, series and with some of the movies that have come out and stuff like that. That you're getting some upscale directors, some upscale acting, and some better content. It's just weird that like Amazon, is Amazon trying to be trying to work with faith-based companies, or are they trying to like squeeze that dollar out of faith-based companies, or are they just trying to create content that will bring people in?
I think it's a mixture of trying to create content that'll bring people in, but also trying to possibly get a specific audience. It's
Tap
smart
into a
marketing.
market that they're not,
Yeah,
that nobody else is really tapping
yeah,
into. Yeah,
it's very
I
smart.
could see
You
that.
know,
I mean, to me it actually makes a lot of business sense. I mean, if it's one of the largest bases in America. It isn't. I mean, it toes the line of offensive, but it isn't offensive to most of America. It doesn't have to worry about, color. It doesn't have to worry about, the only thing you have to worry about is if they start, you know, talking about sin.
well, let's just hope that whatever this TV shows or movies that they come out with, that they don't water it down. Because one thing about it, they only want to pick and choose. When it comes to certain networks, they'll pick and choose the versions of the verses that is a safe space. You know,
Right.
so when we gonna tell it, we gotta tell it all. We gotta tell it exactly how it says it's in the word. Don't be able to
So,
making up stuff. If they need some help, go research VeggieTales.
oh, right, right. Yeah, I guess the first launch that they're putting out is called the House of David.
Mm.
And It's going to be straight to order series that will stream exclusively on Prime Video. House of David follows the once mighty King Saul as he falls victim to his own pride. Prophet prepares to overthrow him, which I'm not sure is in the Bible, but anointing the outcast shepherd boy David as the second king. So, I mean, even in the Chosen, I've seen some things that I'm like, we're playing a little bit loose with the Bible, or we're adding our artistic license to it. But
Hmm.
all in all, I think as long as you're not, like you said, messing with the message, that then I think you're. I mean, I think I guess I applaud it, or I welcome at least some more content, as long as it's not leading people astray.
That's true.
So Amazon also purchased minority stake in Bally Sports, which they were talking on a bunch of the interwebs that I was reading about the Detroit Tigers. Maybe maybe being able to be played on Amazon Prime this year.
That's the baseball team, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I haven't gotten to see a real like a game on TV too much over the last couple years because they've been terrible, and because they're basically just on in their local region and no one wants to play them.
Interesting.
So yeah, those were two Amazon. There's one I don't really want to get into it tonight because I haven't really read enough about it. Um, but there is a thing engineers can artificially create plants or have created artificial plants that generate electricity by harvesting energy from wind and air.
Hmm.
So it's something we'll probably talk about more. I'll hold on to the article. Um, One other thing, China's population declines for its second consecutive year. Did you hear that they declined the first year?
No,
You hear anything on the news about them declining last year?
no, but is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing for us as Americans who want to believe that America is still a great country. If you don't want to believe that and you want to believe that China is better than us for some reason, then yeah, that's bad. Or if you want Chinese people to continue to believe in you or get to be able to watch you because because you don't tell them the truth, then, yeah, it's bad. If your
Hmm.
advertising comes from China. So, all right. Today in history, Willie O'Ree became the first black player in the National Hockey League in 1958. He didn't realize he
Mhm.
had made history until he read it in the paper the next day. That's his quote. On this
Looking
day in
Willie.
history, Willie Ray, still 16 years after baseball, broke the color barrier.
Hmm.
Still 80 years after the Civil War, broke the color barrier. Sad. So I wasn't able because all of the stuff that we, had to go through, all of the new things. We didn't even go through the Epstein list. We'll decipher that as we go here in the next couple weeks. But the one thing I did want to hit, I had kind of one odd article, and it was the best and worst states to drive in 2024.
Ohio definitely got to be number one.
Ohio is seventh.
Is Georgia number one?
Um, on best or worst.
Worse.
So worst is Hawaii.
Never been there before.
Well, I can attest it's pretty terrible because you're on an island and there's nowhere to go. Like you just follow the car behind in front of you. There's no major roads. There's not enough population for giant highways really, other than in like Honolulu. Um, so it's it's pretty rough because like everywhere we went, we had we got Mustangs, like 50 Mustangs for rentals because it was just two of us. It's just me and my wife. And you couldn't actually drive. They didn't care because you couldn't actually drive the 5.0 Mustang because it was just you just followed the car in front of you because it was all traffic because it's just a small island. Each of the islands are just small islands. So cost of ownership and maintenance rank, they're at 49th. The worst state is California. They got 50th on cost of maintenance and wear. Number one for cost of maintenance and wear or ownership and maintenance is Tennessee. Georgia is number two on cost of ownership and maintenance, which I don't understand because they charge you an eco fee. Every year you have to pay an eco tax. Like you have to go in and get it tested every so often. And then they charge you based on emissions tax, based on your car's age and rating of your car. So
Where is Nevada on this list?
Ohio is number 4. Nevada is 47th on the cost of ownership and maintenance. They are 44th overall. So traffic and infrastructure. Number 1 is North Dakota. That's because they have no traffic. There's nobody there to and at least they have some roads. Montana would be higher, but they have no roads. Montana is 41st overall, and they're 5th in traffic and infrastructure. Safety rank. Let's see. Safest drivers are in Rhode Island.
Okay.
That's what they. Ohio ranks 38th in safety ranking.
Who's the number 2 safest state?
Let's see. Number 2 is Connecticut.
I mean, we talking about little states. Like that's
number
not a
3
big
is
state.
Alaska.
They own freaking what's them things called that you ride in the snow on? Snowmobiles half the freaking
And
year.
dog sleds. Number
Yeah,
4 is
like of course.
Massachusetts. And let's see. Let's just round out number 5. Where's number 5 is Illinois in safety ranking.
Illinois definitely ain't safe. I don't know what part of Illinois they was in.
I think the only place is Chicago that's really bad. Other than that, you're it's a boring state to drive through, really.
Well,
And half of Chicago's in Wisconsin.
Listen, the number 1 worst state that has the worst drivers, hands down, is always going to be California.
It's Colorado.
Runner up is going to be Georgia.
It is Colorado. Colorado is the worst. I've driven in California. I've driven in Georgia. I've driven in LA and I've driven in Atlanta. I actually like Atlanta's drivers better than LA because they actually drive. But Denver, Colorado is by far the worst because every time they go to crest a hill, they slam on their brakes. You're in a freaking mountain, people. You're going to see the top of a hill. You can't just slam on your brakes every hill. You're in a mountain. They're going to be every 15 feet. Come on.
They get nervous energy.
I guess.
Not used to it yet.
Just slam on the brakes. I'm on the highway. The thing you get taught, first thing in Ohio when you're driving is never slam on your brakes on the highway. I'm on 4 lanes of road, and all of a sudden this guy in front of me just slams on his brakes at the top of a hill. I'm like, what are you doing? What is this? I'm ready to plow him through. I don't know.
Nervous energy.
Colorado. I can deal with California's we got traffic everywhere. I can deal with Atlanta's Korean ladies cutting off five lanes of traffic and just running you off the road. And the hour and a half it took to get 4 miles. And deal with that. But can't deal with you slamming on your brakes in the middle of the highway at a hill, at every hill. I drove an hour to Colorado Springs from Denver, and every hill we went over, you just crest this hill and everyone slams on their brakes. And then you go down the hill, and then you crest the hill and everyone slams on their. I'm like, this is
They
it.
just doing to make sure that the brakes still work.
I am going to jump out of this car and beat someone in just a second. At least West Virginia is in its place. In 47th. The worst terrible driving state to drive through. Because you can't drive through West Virginia. You have to drive around and around and around and around, and then around and around and around and around, and then around and around and around and around. You should be able to drive through the state in an hour and a
Yeah.
half. But it still takes you 6 hours to get across the state.
They can't drive in Texas either, though.
That's because they don't have to drive like they're driving like 1,000 miles to get anywhere.
Which I don't understand why they do that. That's how they drive in Nevada. And my God, I know the brake company stay in business there. The way them drivers be driving on them brakes.
I don't
We
know. But yeah, I just let's see where New York landed.
number 4.
Overall, New York is 27th, down the middle.
Well, that's because they use
Kentucky
public
26th,
transportation.
probably. Alabama's 5th.
They
So
know how to
top
drive in
five,
Alabama.
huh?
They know how to drive in Alabama.
I didn't have any problems. I drove 95 across it.
I never had a problem driving in Alabama either. I
So
wonder what part they was in.
yeah, I never had any issues. Iowa's number 1, Georgia's number 2, Kansas is number 3, Oklahoma's number 4, Alabama's number 5.
No
North
shocking.
Carolina number 6, Ohio number 7, Tennessee 8, Texas 9, North Dakota number 10.
Mm.
Yep. So that kind of, you know, there's a little study beyond it that says the percentage of rush hour traffic congestion, the lowest state, West Virginia. I mean, 3/4 of the population isn't working, um, because they've taken away all their jobs. North Dakota is number 2, Maine is number 3, Mississippi and Mexico top 5 lowest congestion. The highest congestion was Florida, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, and California.
Mm.
Yep. And days with the most precipitation: Alaska, Vermont, West Virginia. Why is West Virginia on all of these lists? Hawaii and New Hampshire. I guess that kills off New Hampshire for wanting to be there. Fewest days: California, Arizona, Nevada, Mexico, Texas. So they said with Georgia, the reason they're up in number 2 is um, they have the most gas stations and the 9th most alternative fuel stations in the country per capita.
Go Bulldog.
So that helps them jump up to number 2. They also have a low DUI rating. I think it's mainly because they don't pull people over for DUIs.
They definitely have a speeding problem in Georgia. All
They
them
do.
celebrities that's ever got arrested. Who was it? I was watching somebody's video the other day, and one of them rappers was going almost three times the legal speed limit. I think he was going 138 in a 55.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what he was doing.
You can get there.
It's ridiculous. There's no need to be going that fast.
You got to
Ever.
get somewhere.
You put not only your life in jeopardy, but others.
That is
Inconsiderate
true.
and kill somebody.
So, Lady D, you made it through the whole podcast here. What did you learn?
That you are innocent until proven guilty in this country.
And that's why you
With
can
someone's
be
opinion,
elected president.
then you can be arrested for freedom of speech.
Yeah, you're innocent until proven guilty, but you can be arrested for freedom of speech in this country. Great
Yeah,
country of ours. Woo!
yeah.
That's what I said. Freedom's a fairy tale. So, with
It's
that
ridiculous.
amazing note, make sure you get your 5-star and 1-star reviews in. We'll put you in a raffle for a T-shirt, and you remember to follow, like, and share.
Remember to follow, like, and share the Why I'm Angry podcast across all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast. The Why I'm Angry podcast ends now.